What's up, everybody, and welcome down to the Matt Cave for another episode of Way Back Wednesday. And tonight we are talking about the transition from 2D gaming to 3D gaming. And I'm going to have a guest with me tonight. So let's roll the thing. All right, guys, I am so happy to be back. I know I took a little bit of a break, went on vacation, and now we are back to our regularly scheduled programming with Way Back Wednesday. And I've been thinking about this for a little bit, and tonight's going to be a little different from normal Way Back Wednesdays. We're really not going to be bringing up a game tonight, but we're going to be talking about what it was like growing up as gamers and seeing the world of gaming evolve, especially when it took place, when you had 2D platforming games and we made the jump to fully 3D games. That was a huge evolution in gaming, and so many of us experienced it. There's so much of the younger generation now that honestly all they know are fully 3D games. And then they'll go back and play the old games and see what it was like to see what the retro games were all about. But it was different for so many of us. I grew up in the 80s and then into the 90s when gaming really exploded. And making that jump was pretty incredible. So before we keep pushing forward, I just want to say hello to everybody so far in the chat. I see Leia Rose is here, Alan Copeland, the Nerdporeal Life Form. What's up, everybody? I'm so glad to see everybody. Look at me. I'm tripping over my own words. I take a little bit of a break and then I forget how to do all this. And guys, I'm not going to be alone tonight. I'll be bringing in a guest in just a little bit, and we're going to, dive into things. But, tonight I want to take a look at and maybe talk about a couple of different franchises that may have really changed the way we did gaming. But I think my guest actually might be ready. It looks like he might have something in store for us here. So I'm going to bring him in. You know him. You love him. Please welcome the Star Wars Obsession. Oh, hello there.
Oh, hi. What are you guys doing here?
I know you.
Oh, where you been? What are you doing? Where you been?
I stepped away for a little bit, and just I left the channel hanging, and everybody was, just wondering where the heck did Matt Cave go?
Well, yeah, on a vacation. Vacations are very important.
It is
It's
important. They
important
make you very
to
tired too.
well, they say you need vacations from vacations.
You
So,
do, you really do. I probably should have taken today off also because I think going right back to work probably wasn't the best of ideas. I'm a gamer. I'm used to just sitting on my butt.
what are you gonna do? I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, at least you
That's
don't have to stay tethered to your consoles anymore. I mean, Pro
true.
1 for new gaming, you get to
Mhm.
listen in your headset and not bother the whole room. You're not attached with a cable. I mean, there's all kinds of positive stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Black Dragon. I appreciate it. Yes, I celebrated the big 4-0
Oh, yeah, yeah, mhm.
yesterday.
Been there. Mhm.
Um and took the family on vacation, and we went to Legoland, which is all kinds of fun. I mean, look, we play a bunch of Lego video games these days, but back in the day, we had to, make what we were playing with.
Right. Well, yeah, and there were no instruction books.
No, we just
We
make it up as we
we
go.
didn't
I
we
saw a
didn't
lot
have
of cool
instruction
stuff,
books.
some Star Wars things and all kinds of stuff, but yeah.
The scale is gnarly. I mean, you build a 1,000-piece R2-D2, and you're like, "Damn, that took forever. That was
Yeah.
crazy." And then you go and you see a life-size one, and you're like, "How long did that take?" Like,
Yeah.
yo.
They make some pretty impressive sets too. Some of them, they probably do make some pretty close to life size sets.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
you know what? I wonder actually that BD1 that you put together recently, that
It's
might be
close.
life size.
It's close. I mean,
Gotta be close. There he
it's
is.
close. It's like 12, I think it's like 12 and a half inches tall. It's close because I think that's about how tall it was. So, yeah, it's close
Yeah.
for sure.
Thank you everybody for all the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Yeah, getting older is no fun, but you know what? It just means that I get to watch all the games I play now start to add to what's considered retro, which is, kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, yeah.
It is scary though what's considered retro now. I mean, PS1, that's retro.
Okay.
So we'll give him a minute. He's
I'm
had a
good.
step. Oh, are you good?
Yep, just checking on the home front. I heard a
No
crash
worries. You
bang.
do what you got to do,
I'm like,
man.
"Oh, oh, oh." Oh, whenever anything goes crash bang, you're like, "Ooh, something fell down."
Yeah, you always got to check on that stuff. But over the years, this stuff. I mean, even the Pro Life Form you just mentioned right now. Yeah, N64 is considered retro, and he's Super Mario. Yes, yes, it's Mario.
Well, and I mean, I think any of these, I mean, I grew up I'm I'm kind of in the middle of a couple of interesting generations. So I'm smack dab in the middle of the Pepsi generation or Generation X, whichever you prefer to call yourself, and the millennials, right? So
Mhm.
I'm stuck right in that middle ground in between the two. On some calendars, I'm a millennial, some calendars I'm X, sometimes I'm an exennial. It's all kinds of craziness, right? So I remember going to arcades before there were home entertainment systems, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's the most retro gaming. Cabinet gaming, quarter gaming is the
Mhm.
most retro gaming you can possibly do. And for me, that's when I think retro gaming because I'm old, that's what I think of. I think of cabinet gaming. So, um,
Yeah.
I mean, before there was an Atari, before there was an Atari 2600, I remember them bringing the bar stools over so I could stand on them and
Yeah.
play, or the Pizza Hut uh, Pac-Man versus game each other. It was a
Yeah.
two-sided. It was bar knee tie or waist high, so you could put your drink on and have
Yep.
a
The
fight
table game. Yep.
play, right? That's some of my earliest memories in video gaming because that's all there was.
Yeah. And oddly enough, now in 2022, arcades are making a comeback.
They
And
are.
there's a lot of places. I mean, I have one that now opened up in our local mall, which is unbelievable. I didn't think that would be a thing that came back ever. I mean, I remember going to that same exact mall when the arcade was there back in the
Right.
80s and the 90s. I remember this.
Yep.
And now there's an arcade that I get to take my kids to.
Right.
And they're playing, they got all the newer games there too and everything, but
Right.
it's mostly the classics. You got every version of Pac-Man in there. You got a bunch of pinball games, which I got my son into pinball, and he's starting to understand why I'm addicted to it. Um,
Right.
but you get. I sat there and I couldn't believe which one I got addicted to. I'm looking at all the classic ones and everything. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to play this. I'm going to play that. I walk in and see a Stranger Things pinball game,
Oh, cool. Well, and
dude.
that's the thing about
Yeah.
pinball's classic.
Mhm.
And pinball is timeless, right? I mean, I love sitting in a pinball machine. It's the sounds and the feel of the flappers and the
Yep.
bangs of the whistles and stuff. Like all of that technology, they've just got cooler lighting. The
Yeah.
game of pinball is exactly the same. The bumpers, the flippers, all that stuff is the same. It's just better lighting and better screen play. Skee ball, yeah, I mean
I
that's
love skee ball.
skee ball. All those ticket games, that's the stuff we grew up on fairs. I mean, here, when you guys come out here, um, there is a pinball museum, and that is a
Mm.
huge arcade. It is all retro. It is
Oh,
all old school. It is there, I'm sure there are some, but it's a pinball museum. It's not like a new arcade. It's a museum. So you have all your old, Centipede machines, all your old Mario, Donkey Kong,
thank you.
the old Mario versus Luigi versus, um, yeah, there's all that stuff. And then there's a pinball section. And now it's actually on the strip. It's not hidden away on some side street in some weird corner.
Mm.
It's right there on the boulevard. So it's easy to get to and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, those classic games to go back to like that. I mean, there was over the years, arcades were kind of leading the way in what video games were
Mhm,
capable of. I
mhm.
mean, it wasn't until really not all that long ago that, you go to the arcade to get the amped up graphics or the big experience in a game. And then you'd have like the home console version, which was dumbed down or toned down to, whatever it was going to be. Pac-Man was such a huge example in the 80s where we all know what Pac-Man looks like,
Right,
but then you got the Atari 2600 version that was nowhere near what that arcade game was. And there was so many years where the arcades led the way in uh what you could do with these
right,
games graphic wise and experience wise. And like low specs mentioned, yeah, the games with the trackball. I mean, that was something that we didn't really have that at home, that trackball
right,
experience.
right.
I remember playing even like Marble Madness in the
Yep.
arcade.
Mhm.
And then I'd have the Nintendo port of that. And but the biggest thing that all of these games had in common for at least 2 decades were that they were two-dimensional.
Right.
We'd either have side to side, up and down, maybe sometimes a little bit of a mix. Sometimes you get that what was that view? I think it was asymmetrical, where almost
Right,
like a gauntlet view,
right.
where you get that like top
Like the
down, almost
overview,
diagonal.
almost, what was the, adventure view?
Yeah. Yep. And that was wildly impressive. I remember seeing stuff like that, and that in itself kind of had a 3D look to it. The game almost popped a little more. So
Well, yeah, I mean, I if you went from the old Atari Gauntlet to the arcade Gauntlet,
mhm,
that's a great example of 2D graphics improving from, 8-bit to 16-bit
yeah,
or even worse, even, what before 8-bit.
yeah,
Uh, but
Pong.
these games that were ported for the home entertainment systems, there's some of them that didn't play right. And that was
Mhm,
the tough part of that's why you wanted to continue to go back to the arcade.
yeah.
But that was in the early days.
Oh, Asteroids was one of my all-time favorite games, but even to this day, I consider the arcade itself, the cabinet, the ultimate superior version of
Well,
asteroids.
and in the social arm, in the social vein of that, Pixels did a great job of doing that. Adam Sandler's movie did a
Yes.
great service to retro gaming, not only implementing that in the entire movie, but discussing the glitches in cabinet games in the 80s that had glitches, and people could read the patterns that got redone when they ported them to gaming systems, right? And that's there, Adam Sandler did a great service to video gaming in that movie. Um, even something as simple as a reset button. We didn't have a reset button until I was like 10 or 12,
Mhm.
right? There was no reset button. There was no save function. You spent quarters to try to get to a level, and when you died, it said, "Do you want to continue? Please give me more money."
Yeah,
And you
put
went,
the money
"Yes,
in.
I want to continue." And you laid your quarters on the cabinet so people knew how long they had to wait.
Mhm.
That's retro gaming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, retro game, yeah, I would show up with either, like, a little baggie with a twist tie on it or just a brown paper bag full of quarters. And then, I remember eventually some places switched over to buying tokens,
Yep,
but
yep,
I'm
tokens,
like,
yep.
I don't know, there was something about, like, "All right, I have, like, $5 worth of quarters." You felt like you were rich at
Well,
that
it's
point.
heavy. Quarters
Yeah.
were heavy, right?
Mhm.
Like, big old bags of quarters were heavy in your pocket. You had to have a little bag or satchel or something because you just, like, you'd walk funny. You'd, like, smack yourself with the quarters on your pockets. It's like it's just it was a
Mhm.
different time, and it was a different feel, and it is coming back because everything that was cool will be cool again,
Yep.
and specifically with gaming, this is something that people like yourself and older people that have kids can be like, "Look, I'm gonna grab some beers and play some games. Here's a couple sodas. Go run around and play some games. Come back when you run out of money." Because that's
Yeah.
how our parents did it. Don't you
Absolutely.
know? It, society's weird, right? Because and I'm gonna go on a quick tangent.
Go for it.
Society's weird. When we were kids, don't talk to strangers, don't take food or drink from anybody, don't do this stuff, right? Don't leave without telling nobody. Now you get in an Uber who's a stranger's car, they give you food and candy. It's just a different time. So now you have to
Mhm.
remind your kids, don't leave with anybody but me. Don't call an Uber. Like it's a different
Yeah.
thing when you give kids money and say go, right? Because when we were kids,
Oh,
it was like, here's $20, go have fun.
mhm. I remember, I would be dropped off at the mall or something or go with my parents to the mall, and the arcade was there and whatever we were doing, hang out in the food court, and sometimes it was like, "Okay, here's some quarters. Call me from the payphone when you're
Yeah,
done."
yeah.
And some people might be watching going, "What's a
Yeah,
payphone?"
what's a payphone?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were those things, that you see in movies when they wanna like, the CIA wants to talk to somebody or, like, they're trying not to talk to somebody, that's what they're talking about. Yeah, it's a different time, and gaming as a whole is so much yeah, dude,
He's not
yes,
kidding.
right? That's what I'm saying, it's a different time. When we were kids, it was like, "Don't get in the car with nobody."
Nobody.
Right? And now it's like, I'll just call an Uber and go home by myself. And everybody's okay with this, right? So to me, it's, you know, I don't know. To me, it just cracks me up because there's
For
uh
me, sort of.
there's no real, you know, there's no it's just so backwards from when we were kids.
Yeah.
And taking your kids to an arcade now and taking your kids to do this stuff, it's different, and but you guys can totally bond on it because it's literally they're running around like, "This is awesome," and
Yeah.
you're like, "I know, right?" Like, it's just rad. It's just like Legoland. Like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
It's because kids have all the crazy, ridiculous adventure games like now that are full in-depth story. They're practically movies now, right? So to take my son to an arcade now, it's a totally different experience than when I was going because I watched the evolution of all of this. But
Right.
now I'm bringing him in there I'm explaining gaming backwards. to him. It's just like they pointing
Yeah,
out things like, "That's why you have this now, and that's why,
right.
how this got here." So if we start with, say, let's just start with one of the biggest of all time, right? Let's start with this guy right here.
Ah, it's a Mario.
It's Mario. Yeah. See, this guy, the jump from 2D to 3D with this character was probably one of the biggest events in gaming history. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just, whoop, that's not the right one. It was to go from what we see on the screen there on the left side and to where he became to where he's at now. I mean, even the 2D thing in that picture right now isn't even that's more advanced than what we started with. With Mario. Mario was just kind of like brown and red, and I think there might have been a little bit of green in there when you switched over to Luigi. But we had this little plumber guy that we all met through gaming, and we met him in Donkey Kong, and then we see him again a little bit in pinball, and then all of a sudden he's got his own game on Atari, and then we see him on the NES in Super Mario Brothers, and we're running from left to right. You can't go back once you made it to a point. You can't go back to the left. You always go
Right.
right,
Yep, yep.
and
Yep. Mhm.
try to get this guy to the end. And now we have games like Mario Odyssey and Mario 3D World, and you're running around an open world with Mario, and that's something I never thought I would ever see. Kind of dreamed about it when we were kids, like, wow, what would it be like to be in the world of Mario? I think the closest we got to that was probably the Super Mario Brothers cartoon with Captain Lou Albano.
Right. Well, and it's I mean, the I mean, what was that? Was that, I mean, technically, that was Super Mario 2, right? Is where the
Yeah.
is where the first jump went in graphics. So from Mario 1 to Mario 2, there was an upgrade, and
Hmm.
then from Mario 2 to Mario 3, there was another upgrade. And, it's, Mario 2 was really effing hard.
Yes,
Like,
because it was
for a
so
little
different.
kid, it was real effing ha even as an adult, I could have a hard time with it.
Yeah. I remember trying to learn because I learned that there were warp zones and stuff from the first Super Mario
Mhm.
Brothers on the Nintendo. So when
Right,
2 came out, one of the first things I wanted to try to figure out was where are the secrets, where are the warp zones? But even that
right,
was handled differently because you had to
right,
find these weird potions and find a
right,
magic door.
right.
Mm,
Well, and that's what I'm saying, is everything was different. In Mario 2, it wasn't just tubes and tunnels and all that. It turned into magic and it was different. The
it was
the the
different.
graphics package was better. I mean, you know, I always liked my little plumber,
Yeah.
on the NES.
Well, with Mario 2, it's funny you bring that up because I did a little short thing on TikTok the other day about Mario 2. The funny thing about that game was that it didn't start, or at least what we got in North America didn't start as Super Mario Brothers 2. It
Correct.
it was originally what we got was basically a little more of little more than a reskin of another game. It was it Doki Doki Adventure or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Um, because when the actual Super Mario Brothers 2 came out and released in Japan and was getting ready to release in North America, the Nintendo USA side deemed the game too difficult for
Yeah,
North American audiences.
yeah,
And Nintendo panicked at that point and had to do something. And meanwhile, somebody was working on this other game, and they were like, "Well, what if we turn that into Mario?" I'm like really dumbing it down, but it was like, "What if we just turn that into the Mario game, make this little character
right.
Mario, and do all this?" And actually, if you ever want to see a really great in-depth explanation and story about that, check out the Gaming Historian on YouTube. Guy's got a fantastic channel. all retro gaming stuff and everything. Amazing, in-depth, like documentary style. It's fantastic. What's up, Solid Snake? What's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. But we see even that, like you said, from 1 to 2, what we got in North America was a big graphics change. And it wasn't 3D yet, but it looked more like a cartoon. It looked more animated. And that was probably one of the biggest steps in between 2D and 3D, was getting that cartoon style where you get a game where it's like, that looks just like the character I watched on Saturday morning, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Mario 2 was tough. It was a fun game. You had the princess, so it didn't feel like a Mario game because you weren't trying to rescue
Mhm.
a princess from the normal group of bandits. But that whole Mario 2 upgrade, I mean, Zelda did the same thing, right? I mean, if
Mhm.
you look at Zelda, the first gold disc Zelda and Mario 1, they have the same look. They have the same graphics package. But you look at Link and Zelda and then the Adventures of Link, it's a graphically different uh uh project, and it felt like Castlevania.
Yes.
And that's what I didn't like about it, because I didn't like the flow of Castlevania, right? And it was basically Castlevania with Zelda characters. It was much like Mario 2. It was a
Mhm.
different game with the typical NES character.
Yeah. And at the time, we didn't have anything other than the first one of each
Right.
to reference. So
Right.
making that change, you kind of look at it nowadays with all the different sequels, and people are like, "Oh, that one's so different from the original, and why didn't they stick to this formula?" It's like, well, there really wasn't a formula
Right.
yet.
Back then there was no formula. Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And they were trying everything. I mean, there were several gaming companies that were doing, these Nintendo games exclusively, and then there were companies trying to get in on board, but ultimately um the second the first graphics upgrade for Nintendo for the NES was from, like you said, the adventure in the Atari, and uh um Zelda, that overview map,
Hmm.
and then Mario was running across the screen. But the first upgrade to NES changed all of that and made them almost all the same. The difference in Mario 2 was that you started going vertically, not just horizontally. You started going
Yeah.
up and down, and that was a trip.
Yeah. That created so many more options for the game developers also, because now, if you were to pull it back and you're looking at this almost like grid style, you're stacking the levels basically
Right.
and all the different places you can transition to. And Mario 3 took that even further with the
Right.
flying ability. Right?
Right.
You're just going right up into the sky, and I mean, there were some levels you could literally just fly off the screen and go all the way to the end.
Right. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing, is that Mario 2 introduced, I feel like, at least for on the mainstream, it introduced vertical movement in games. But then you took Mario 3, took it on a whole nother level, doing the same thing, but that's where they hit the warp zones and the specials and all that stuff, instead of it just being part of the level. There were very few levels that were like that, unless you were on like one of the level boss ships, or one
Mhm.
of Bowser's kids ships, or something like that. But you couldn't go backwards
That was
on
that was a
some
huge
level.
limitation.
On
Yeah.
some levels, because on a lot of levels you could go back.
I would think, like, even and I'm actually just playing through this. I still haven't finished it, but I'm playing through this game in its entirety for the first time at 40 years old. Is Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo,
Oh yeah.
and that gives you a lot more ability. You got a lot more freedom back and forth, and crazy level designs in there. So that's even
Right.
as they got into the 16-bit era. they're amping it up, giving you more freedom to move around the screen and bring this character into different places while you're going.
Right.
But when Mario made the leap and we jumped to 64 bits and Mario 64 came out, that was when we saw that as gamers, it was like, okay, we have to change how we even approach this. Like we had to learn to be gamers again, basically, because we didn't know how to run around in a 3D environment.
Well, and N64 did their controller was the first time they introduced the trackpad or the
analog stick.
analog stick. And so that was a tough controller for me to get behind.
Yeah.
But that introduced, I mean, for me, the biggest thing that 64 introduced was Mario Kart. And that was another level. I mean, there had been racing games, there had been Pole Position, there had been Rad Racer, there had been Excite Bike, there had been all these motorsport games, but really Mario Kart took it into not just going straight or like left turn, right turn, but like literally having to turn and figure out lines. And it really not only took, because Sega had racing games, but for Nintendo specifically, that was a big leap. Is in all gaming, I feel like it was Mario Kart. Mario Kart was like, oh, a multiplayer and the computers involved. This is dope.
Yeah, putting Mario Kart into 3D and taking basically what Nintendo accomplished with F-Zero and taking that to the next level. I mean, like you said, being able to not just go left to right and everything, you're making these full turns and you're getting a sense that you are in this track, you're part of this world.
Right.
Because think about how many times, you've played Mario Kart and you get completely spun around and you're like, all right, I'm going the wrong way. And you get the little guy in the cloud come down and tells you you're going the wrong way.
Right.
I mean, when that hit N64, because we had the Super Nintendo version, I think there was even, did Mario Kart start on the NES? I think it did.
I
feel like it did, but chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like it started on the NES.
I want to say the only one that I can remember on NES was it was the little trucks.
RC Pro AM.
Thank you. Yes.
You had me at little trucks.
RC Pro Am was the game for a long time. And then, like you said, and then I don't know if there was a Mario Kart for NES. I thought there might have been one for NES, but I think the 64 is what really changed the grip.
That's where its popularity took off like crazy. And it's one of the biggest reasons why so many other game companies and developers have made Mario Kart clones. I mean, my kids play a Nickelodeon one now, and it's literally it's like, oh, it's a Mario Kart clone.
Right.
And they're never as good. It's just like they almost made it.
Well, and I mean, look, that's, I mean, Mario Kart has evolved into what it is today, but I mean, it's such a popular thing that when you're in Japan, you can go on a go-kart where you drive as Mario or one of the gang on the streets of Tokyo in go-karts in full outfit. Like that's how much popularity Mario Kart brought. And honestly, I feel like Mario Kart has carried the NES. I feel like Mario Kart has carried Nintendo for all these years.
It's one of those titles. Oh yes, Alan, you're absolutely right. 1992 is when that came out. I got a T-shirt that has that on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that franchise just kept going. I mean, we had a GameCube release with Mario Kart. Was that Dash or Super Dash, whatever it was?
And
that was a fun one too because they took the multiplayer experience to a different level, which I don't think they ever came back to. It was where the second player could be the second person in the cart. and they're handling throwing the shells and, everything.
Well, and that was good if you had kids too. You're like, "Throw
Oh,
my obstacles, throw my stuff." You're like, they don't have to steer or nothing. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is that you start to evolve into now, into the Wii, into the bigger projects, and I feel like Mario Kart is just one of those things that's carrying the platform. It's just carrying Nintendo's platform.
mhm.
It's Mario, but it's what's carrying. I mean, that's the only game I really play.
Yeah. Mario Kart 8, I mean, in itself, it's almost pulling a Street Fighter at this point where it's just surviving multiple console generations and keeps re-releasing. I got Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U,
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
now it's on the Switch, and then it got advanced even further on the Switch, and now
yeah.
they're bringing more levels to the point where they're even bringing the classic levels and upgrading them.
Yep.
And that's one of the funnest ones too, is that he's seeing like those N64 levels reimagined on the Switch. And you get, it was 3D on the N64, but not like it is on these modern
Oh
consoles.
no, no, no. The super chips are just insane.
Mhm.
The new graphics chips are just ridiculous. I mean, if you would have showed somebody a Switch in 1989, I mean, forget it, dude. Forget it.
The brain would melt.
Forget, dude. No video game for 35 years would be good. You'd be like, this is trash. This is trash.
I mean, it was seeing a character like Mario transition from 2D to 3D was definitely a huge jump. But on the other side of the fence, in his competition, we had Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
And Sega was all about the attitude and the speed and Sega does what Nintendo don't and all that, everything that happened during the console wars.
Yeah.
And I think when Sonic transitioned to 3D, for me personally, and maybe not a lot of people feel this way about it, I feel like Sonic's transition to 3D felt more natural and made more sense to me than Mario did, because Mario was he's this 2D platforming game. Like that's Super Mario to me. Is left to right and just platforming and find the warps and make it from point A to point B. And don't get me wrong, I really love the current day Mario games,
Right.
but for me, Sonic moving to 3D felt more natural. And I think it was because of the speed factor and going through loops and it was, I don't know. I don't know what it was about it. It felt like, and still, even
Well,
like now, Sonic games, I prefer the 2D ones.
Sonic also started as a more 3D looking character also.
Yeah.
Let's
He
be honest,
it's
Mario and Zelda, Link and all of these characters that we grew up with in the 2D era, Sonic had a different look to it. Sega had a different feel to it
yeah.
in all aspects. I mean, there's a game called Flashback
Yep.
that is the bane of my existence.
It just got re-released, by the way.
I won't play it anymore. I literally that game gave me nightmares. I had nightmares about that
Mhm.
game. And
See now.
and it is the same. It is roughly the Sega was the Super Nintendo. It was already upgraded. That was the competition. It really wasn't an NES competition. Uh,
Yeah, this was full on competition to
right,
the SNES. Yeah.
right. So Sonic had a 3D feel to it already because he had that look to him. And the way that the levels moved were like you said, they were rapid, but
Mhm.
um their other games felt Sega's other games felt like what they tried to do with Mario 2. They were multi-tiered maps.
Mhm.
They were very, very Sega was almost like it was designed to be difficult. Like Nintendo's for
Yeah.
kids, Sega's for like teen and adults. It almost shunned away from the little kids because the games were hard.
Oh, the games were harder. They were more violent. They really pushed the attitude side of it. I brought up recently, just looking at two different versions of the same game coming out, RoboCop versus Terminator, for example. Nintendo cut out all the blood and gore.
Right, right.
Sega didn't.
No, Sega leaned in. I mean, the Resident Evils,
Yep.
there was a lot more mature content on Genesis, and maybe that's why Sonic felt that way, because he looked you didn't have anything to compare him to in 8-bit.
Mhm.
I feel like that's the reason everybody was so accepting, why it took off so much and didn't feel awkward, because that's what we started with.
Yeah, that actually, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think that's why, even for me, why it felt a little more natural, because he
Yeah.
did start out more advanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to push that into, now we're going almost an over the shoulder view. We're looking at the back of our character rather than the side, and we're moving forward with him.
Right.
And then at those speeds, it just it felt different when you're playing as Mario and Luigi, and you're running around Mushroom Kingdom in 3D. It's a whole nother thing. You have to think about it differently. It's not just, I'm gonna run to this side and get in that pipe. It's no, I gotta go around this section and then go
Right.
up this,
Right.
and no.
Well, and yeah, I mean, Sega had it just had a different feel to it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's about it. I mean, until you get into the newer age consoles, until you get into the PlayStation release, until you get into the Xbox release, those two held that platform for the long. Even what you tried, Sega Dreamscape was an attempt. Sega CD was an attempt to keep up with the N64 and that stuff, but that was the limit of those platforms. Like, that was it.
Yeah. It was Sega. I mean, that's where I think Sega's downfall was with those rapid console add-on
It was, yeah,
releases.
they went add-ons instead of new console, where Nintendo went new console. They went with the Dreamscape was Sega.
Well, we
They
had
went with
we had the Genesis. I got the stack next to me here.
Yeah, right.
Genesis, and then you attach that to the Sega CD, and
Mhm.
then you plop the Sega 32X on top of that,
Right.
and then they had the Saturn that
The
came out
Sega
that only
Saturn, that's
lasted for
yep.
so long, and Dreamcast was their last console. That was their final jump, which surprisingly, and take any game that was on the Dreamcast and the PlayStation and the N64, the Dreamcast version was leaps and bounds beyond graphically and resolution-wise
Right.
than the other two.
For sure.
It was just the way it was handled and how it came out. It couldn't beat the competition that was out there, especially when you get to that realm of N64 and PlayStation.
Right.
And speaking of the PlayStation, because that's where I played this on, but one of our favorite characters, that I know we both love, made the jump to 3D along the way also, and that was this guy
Oh, yeah,
right
Mega
here,
Man. Yeah,
Mega Man.
Mega Man did the best job of transitioning.
His jump, well, the initial jump out, I don't know. I played it on the PlayStation 1, that first Mega Man 3D game. It was a little funky.
Yeah. Well, when they here's the thing, is that Mega Man changed platforms.
Mhm.
That's where things got funky, is like, it was a Nintendo thing forever. And then you got Super Nintendo had the, Mega Man X, all of
Yep.
that. But then, when I don't did they sell Mega Man to Sony?
I think because it's a Capcom property, I guess it was up to Capcom, like, really, where am I gonna put this? Because there was a Sega release of Mega Man that was really just an updated graphics port
Right.
of Mega Man 1, 2, and 3,
Right.
similar to what they did with Super Mario All-Stars, where it was
Right.
just Mario 1, 2, and 3 again, but with the updated graphics.
Right.
I think that was the only release on the Sega, but when Capcom brought Mega Man to the PlayStation, and then still back to Nintendo on the N64, he was jumping into the 3D world. And
Right.
this is a character that not only we were used to side-scrolling platform, but again, the vertical. We're going
Right.
up and down. We have these platforms are going on. We had abilities that would leap you to the next
Right.
level, and then just constant bombardment of respawning enemies while you're trying to solve a puzzle. Mega Man was on a whole other level of gameplay style and difficulty back then because Mega Man's one of the hardest games out there.
Well, Mega Man from Jump Street, Mega Man is a puzzle.
Mhm.
So from the time you get to the very first intro screen where you see all of the villains, it's a game within a game, right?
Yeah.
You have to play not which level you're more interested in. You have to play a system. And that's where people got lost in Mega Man and they had a hard time with it is you have to figure out which abilities to use on which bosses and how to make it as easy for you as possible. If you went through Mega Man trying to use your Mega Blaster the whole time, you're going to get your ass kicked,
Yeah.
right? You have to use electricity against Waterman or, water against water ability against fire. Like you have to think about the bosses you're facing in what order to make it as easy for you as possible, but also they got harder. That game was hard also.
Mhm.
But it was fun. It was a fun hard. It was easy enough for little kids to get it.
Yeah. It was learning timing, you'd have
Right.
those disappearing blocks where it made that, like, iconic sound, like, "Whoa," like, it would just, like, come in there, and it's like, "Okay, when is that block gonna appear?" And you have to work your way
On
through.
jumping and shooting,
Yep.
finding the timing to jump and shoot to hit
Mhm.
these bosses. It was a big leap. Again, I feel like Mega Man's one of those characters that because the because the game inside the game, they kept evolving him, it felt right when his character got an evolution in graphics. We're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we found Mega Man X and his body was made for the future, and here we are in the
Yep.
future." And he's got this he's got this new look to him and this new armor and this new Mega Blaster, and that's what you expected to happen with Mega Man. It was a constant upgrade, so it was built into the story that he was gonna look better and get better, and so were the villains, and so was Dr. Robotnik, and all of this stuff
Mhm.
was designed for that.
Yeah. And, like, yeah, it made sense for Mega Man to evolve like that. He's about technology, he's about
Right.
advancing the character, so all of that just flowed, and I think as gamers, we we accepted that transition a lot easier
Right.
than maybe some other ones. Because I completely understand the frustration that some people had with that leap, and why some people just didn't wanna jump to the 3D and using analog sticks and, over the shoulder shooters and things like that. But with Mega Man and a character like that, it worked and it made sense. Um, on Back on the Nintendo side, uh, the transition to 3D for Link in the Zelda series, it worked so well, in my opinion, because it's an adventure. Like, you wanted to explore Hyrule, and I think taking that to 3D made perfect sense. Like, I was so excited when Ocarina of Time came out.
Right.
I remember seeing the trailer for that game in a movie theater. I can't remember what movie I went to
Oh, wow.
see, but the first time I saw that game was coming out, they played a trailer at the movie theater, and it blew my mind.
That was the 64 game,
Yeah,
right?
the N64 game.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was along with Majora's Mask, right? That was that
Yeah,
same
that was the
series?
direct sequel
Okay.
at that point. So those 2 on that console, I mean, that changed everything for the Legend of
Again,
Zelda
those
series.
were hard as hell.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna be honest, just because learning ho going from a D-pad to an analog stick was challenging for anybody over, 12.
Yeah.
That had grown up on, Sega or any of that stuff. That was a challenge. Um, but those games were graphically awesome, and I love that they took things um, from the NES version
Mhm.
and things like the flute,
Yeah.
and things like that that whisked you away. Uh, I think it's awesome that they introduced a horse to the mix. Um, because you saw those things in the trailers and you're like, when the hell are we going to get to see this horse in any of these?
Yeah.
And then finally you're like, I get to ride the horse. Um,
Riding Epona across Hyrule Field is just it's one of the coolest things.
right, exactly. And that's the kind of stuff they got right. And those are the kind of feels that, that hit you in the feels. Those were
Yeah.
the things that hit you in the feels. And Zelda made a good transition. But again, I feel like that story evolved with us, right? Like
Mhm.
as we grew up, that character grew from this little 4 to 8 dots on the screen to, a more 3D rounded dots, and then finally into like a person with legs, right? So, yeah, I mean, the 2D 3D transition in that game was great because finally you got to run around, right? It wasn't just up, down, dash left, dash right. It was circle, circle. That's where people had that's where I had a hard time because you're so used to like left, right, forward, back, right?
Yep.
Now you're like actually circling with the D-pad and you're like, this is
Yeah.
harder.
A little tough at
Right,
that point. Yeah.
right. And that's what older gamers had a hard time with when 3D graphics first came out. It's wait, wait, wait. I'm not just going left and right to dodge anymore. I have to circle. I have to think round. I can't think flat anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And that was a large transition for a lot of gamers.
One of the smartest things Nintendo did with that particular game was adding a lock-on system. There was a
Right.
trigger button to hold and lock on to an enemy because trying to just run around in those circles and fight just an enemy in an open field,
Right.
it was tricky. I
Right.
mean, you weren't
Oh,
just
and the
going
bosses
at it from one angle.
the bosses were tricky because they came at you from weird angles you weren't expecting, usually when, I'll give you an example, the worms, for instance,
Mm.
the big worms, the earthworms, in the 2D versions, they would just you could see where they would pop up because you're over here and you're like, I'm gonna run to the other side of the screen. And then you get your arrows or whatever. But in the DS version, and not the DS, but the 64 version,
Mhm.
they're popping up behind you and you have to actually turn around
Yeah.
to see them. And that's where it got interesting. That's where um you had to pay attention, and it made you pay attention more. You couldn't just kind of zone out during these battles.
Absolutely, and having something pop up behind you where you can't see this thing,
Yeah.
that brought gaming to just, again, a whole nother level, and there is
Yeah.
something we'll definitely touch on. I'll bring up the comment real quick, but yes, low spec, I'm gonna touch on
Yeah.
this because that's a huge thing there. Um, but speaking of Zelda and Ocarina of Time, specifically, for those of you out here, in case you haven't seen it yet, Nerdporeal Lifeform recently put out a retrospective on Ocarina of Time. It's fantastic. Go check it out. Really in depth into that game because that game in itself is one of the biggest games of all time and still considered one of the best games of all time on tons of gaming top 10 lists. So it's yeah, there's a reason why that game is incredible. But Nintendo made a lot of really smart choices with that game. And I think they quickly learned from what they were doing with Mario 64 because that
Right.
was their first outing. And you go back to Mario 64 now, it's rough.
Oh,
It
yeah.
it's a rough go.
Not all
Still
games
fun.
were good.
Hmm. Yeah, there was a lot of 3D games that came out that just they didn't quite know what they were doing with it, I guess. Castlevania was an example. The N64 Castlevania game that came out is a hot mess. There's still some really fun moments in it, but for the most part, it almost feels broken.
Yeah.
And it's tough to go back to those games, but we've reached a point where these games have advanced so much that you're practically playing a movie. I mean, the idea of running around in a 3D world is pretty much perfected now. I mean, now we're
Oh,
taking
dude.
gaming into okay, you went from a 3D world. Well, what if we literally put you in that 3D world.
Oh yeah.
And you, my friend, have dove headfirst into that recently, taking on the Lord of the Sith himself, Darth Vader.
Yeah. That's I am looking forward if this is the first stage, and this is just PlayStation's version, but I'm sure Oculus and all the other companies that make VR, if this is the first iteration of VR, we are going to be living Ready Player One very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the 3 to 5 year old version of that PlayStation VR. I mean, I'm sure this is the new version where it's updated and it's smoother and whatever, but that's scary because you're in it, right? I mean, it's insane the first time you power up a VR system and you're like, "Ooh, whoa, I'm in my room, but I'm not in my room. I'm on a star cruiser, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a ship. Like this is a trip." And those moments are it's crazy when science fiction or science fantasy, however you want to categorize it, because they categorize them different these days. When science fiction or science fantasy starts leading into reality,
Mm-hmm.
things are evolving at a very rapid pace. And basically, Ready Player One is I'm going to call it a manual an eventual
Oh yeah.
manual as to the way society will be, because it's so easy to get immersed and to live in that. I'm very eager to see the PlayStation VR 2, the PSVR 2 that's coming out this year. It's supposed to drop before Christmas. And if that's the case, then man, I'm in.
Well, they got, we have the PlayStation 5 camera that came out, which was not being utilized for the VR yet, but now will it with PSVR 2? Because that was a more advanced camera that came out for the PS5. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're capable of doing. I mean, even just having the full HD in VR is impressive in itself.
Yeah. Oh, and
I-
it looks like older VR, right? Like if you
yeah.
look at it, I mean, it's not perfect, right? Like it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination by today's standards. But if you're looking at it at 1080 or 720, which is where TVs were 5 years ago, um, I'm okay with that. Oh, wait, well, I commented it's good.
Oh,
Um,
I see.
uh, but like I'm gonna probably tomorrow. I mean, I'm gonna start. In fact, the VR session was such a workout,
Oh,
right?
yes. You sweat
That
playing those
I
games.
think I'm going to I'm going to start a new segment. I think I'm going to announce it here. I think I'm going to start a new segment on my channel because it's a gaming channel. We should definitely announce stuff like that here. I think I'm going to start a daily dojo session of just getting in there for an hour a day and going through the dojo missions, because you it's it's a workout, man. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie. It's a crazy cardio workout. Well, and him saying that, let's play squadrons once I get my VR aptics set up to where I'm
Oh,
on it,
yeah.
dude.
When you
Let's
play
do that.
Squadrons in VR, you're not gonna wanna play it any other way.
I won't from
Once
now on.
once you have actually sat in an X-Wing or any other ship from Star Wars, and you're able to just look
Yeah.
out of the cockpit and see where your enemies are,
Where'd he go? Where'd he
"Where'd you go?"
go? Right? I mean, and that's the thing, is like that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to getting down on some squadrons and
Mhm.
setting the VR controllers up to be my stick and throttle, right? And trigger, instead of trying to figure this stupid shit out on how to fly, right? Instead of trying to be like, which one are my missiles?
Yeah.
Right? Which ones are my guns? I don't know. Right? I can actually set up my triggers to be left-hand guns, right-hand missiles, right? I can
Mhm.
set up blasters versus projectiles. So it's, for me, let me get set up in that and be able to sit in this chair and start looking for my enemies here instead of on a little HUD, right? Like, let me start trying to move around like I would in a ship. And then let me play that game. And then maybe I'll have a chance against the good guys like Strike and X-Wing and all those other guys that are really good at squadrons. I'm not great at flying games because the controllers psych me out. Right? Give me a controller that I can set up to my preferences and right? Then let's talk, right? So yeah, we're going to try that out for sure.
Oh yeah, that becomes a whole other experience. And you know, when you fly an X-Wing and you keep talking about X-Wings, and X-Wings are like the best ship ever, and X-Wing, X-Wing, X-Wing.
Oh, too
it
many
just
times.
appears like Beetlejuice.
What's up, nerds?
What's up, nerd?
But yeah,
What's
I mean,
up, guys?
we said X-Wing too many times.
I know,
We said
you
it
gotta
so
be
many
careful.
times
But yeah, I mean, look, dude, let me put my VR headset on and let me get that stuff set up, and I think I would enjoy the game a lot more, just because then it would be like flying opposed to sitting here with a controller trying to figure out how to go left.
Yeah. No, it that immersion, it changes the way you play games, and that's the biggest thing of why games transition from what they were back in the day with 2D all the way to 3D, all the way to VR at this point. And like you said, maybe the VR version would be a lot more fun. I can tell you from personal experience, it's the only way I want to play that game.
Oh, the first time I play it, I'll do it live, just because I'm sure my mind is going to be blown on the back of my chair. I'm sure there's going to be brain matter back here, because
You might blow your lunch on the floor too,
dude.
Yes.
The Vader Immortal it's insane. It's insane. I mean, the only way it would be better is if you didn't have controllers and you had gloves. That's the only way it would be
Power
better.
Gloves,
right? Like power gloves,
so
and
bad.
let me push instead of having to go. Like, let me and like that would be super dope. But I mean, just the immersion of that, being in that ship, the whole being on Mustafar, flying into Mustafar, that shit's ridiculous.
Yeah. I got to play what's the really famous flight simulator everybody's playing right now? This guy had he had like the, you know, in a helicopter, there's the one that does this, and then you have the stick, and then you have the rudders and everything. Like, I was doing that with a freaking Huey in Vietnam with goggles on. I was there. I could hear Fortunate Son in the background. I was like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah, it's a trip. But that's the thing, is that like when you grow up with a Nintendo, and when you go further, like I said, you grow up with cabinets. You're like, man, this looks sweet as hell. Look at Donkey Kong. He's huge. And then all of a sudden you're in these ships in VR. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's awesome.
The original Star Wars arcade with the vector graphics. Yeah. I mean, that in itself, if you look at that was incredibly immersive. I mean, you're at that cabinet and you're flying through the Death Star trench, you know, it's obviously using our imagination a whole lot at that point, but it was incredible.
It wasn't, because that was immersion back in the 80s, though. Like that was, I spent a lot of quarters on that game.
Dude, mine was the Anakin's Pod Racer in the arcade. It had the butt of Anakin's Pod Racer. Yeah, and you could do that. Forward. Oh my god, man.
That was hard as shit too, because it was so sensitive. You had to be in, like, you had to play a lot to get the feel of like just barely moving it through some of those. I bet you're pretty good at it. You know,
probably pretty good.
I bet you better than everybody ever. On that sheet. Yeah, gaming, this new PSVR, I can't wait. I'm gonna buy one as soon as they come out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna spend the money, and I have to know how much better it is. Like, I have to know, if you've waited 3 to 5 years to bring this new system on, and this is dope. Like, I told my girlfriend, I'm like, you have to get in there, even if just to see how it is. I'm befuddled at that game, because it actually, for the 720 HD that it is, in your face. It is a fucking amazing.
Dude, 720 still call me old school. 720 still HD for me, man.
I mean, well, that's what I'm saying. With in VR, it is. You're like, I don't care that I need glasses in here. This is dope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and like Matt was saying, the PlayStation headset, I feel like they really did an interesting job redesigning, because the way you put it on, the way you like the whole thing doesn't hurt your head. You barely feel
multiple adjustments. You get a front adjustment, back, and everything just.
Well, if you have ear pods you like, you can plug them into it. You can use your own ear pods. If you have your Beats, use your in-ear Beats. If you have whatever ear pieces you like, dude, I mean, I'm using the factory ones, and I'm like, dang, I don't want to put anything better on because I might fall over.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm playing in the office, and if I have markers. I'm like, okay, touch corner of desk. Okay, I'm here. Okay, there's the microphone. Like I have
caution tape and shit up everywhere.
Yeah, like, dude, it's insane. I have stanchions from the club. I'm like, don't pass the velvet rope. Like, this is the swing area. Do not enter.
Punching your cats, kicking your cats.
Yeah, you got to get everybody out of the way.
She was gone, and one of the cats came in, and I was actually sliding my feet forward because I had a feeling one of them was in here. And I actually touched a tail, and I just felt something scurry off. And I'm like, that's what you get. Like, I can't see you.
Don't bother daddy when he got the headset on, man. You're going to get booted.
The next time I had to close the doors just to make sure I didn't get a cat in here. My girlfriend walked in the first time I'm playing. She's like, you're sweating your balls off. I was like, Vader is legit.
Yeah. Oh, fighting Vader is...
It's the bots, dude.
When you and you explained it in your stream when you're doing that, when like it doesn't do it justice when you're watching the game.
No, never does.
When you walk up to Vader in VR and you're like, hi.
Oh, he's huge.
Daddy.
Yeah.
He's huge. The first time he walks in, he's huge. You're literally looking up. You're like, damn, they made you big, girl. Yeah. Like he is massive. Like, you know, and I'm sure that's what it's like being on those sets, you know, Hayden putting on that suit. I'm sure he feels massive, and the way he has to, like, the whole movement of the VR game, it was brilliant, dude. It was brilliant. It didn't feel like a game. It was just so well done. I'm going to play the Iron Man game, even though I'm kind of, but Squadrons is the one I'm really interested in, like setting up the controllers and seeing. I'm going to play it with this stupid shit in my thumbs just to get the headset on, but I want to try to
hook up a HOTAS joystick to a PlayStation.
I have the two joysticks that come with it, so I just have to set up, like, this one is the throttle and this one is the stick, and then this is my gun trigger, and like I just have to set up all the buttons.
I mean, like can't you just, isn't there a USB one you can plug into your PlayStation to use it? Yeah,
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I'm sure there is. But just for starters, I'm like, let's try this. You're muted, my guy. There you go. It's okay.
That was me, dude. I just did a stream for an hour. StreamYard muted me every 30 seconds. And I'd be talking, and then I have to stop, and then I got to restart. And
Boy, you've always had that StreamYard issue where they do that, though. They like auto duck you for some reason.
It's Kathleen. She has access to my account. She just mute.
Yeah. That's okay though. At least she likes you. If she's watching enough, you know, likes you enough to watch. Yeah, I mean, look, dude, honestly, the PSVR, I don't know if Xbox has an equivalent. I've never.
I don't think Xbox has VR.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, is Oculus Microsoft?
Yeah, it might. That might be theirs, because
if you can't hook it up to an Xbox, that's it. You got to do it all through the computer.
Yeah, see, that's lame, because I honestly, that's another reason I think I would go with PlayStation right now if I was buying a console, just because after feeling that VR, I want more. I want another Vader Immortal. I want another Star Wars game. Get away from it if you have to. Redo it with the new graphics. Re-release that shit. You'll make money. You'll make money. Get one of these celebrities that like Star Wars. Get Anakin in a PSVR 2 playing Vader Immortal and watch that shit go viral. Right? Seriously, like that would be the way to sell it. Is like, hey, Hayden, come here real quick. We know we didn't see a lot of your face in the the Kenobi show right now. You might see you later, but we got this Vader Immortal game coming out. We're re-releasing it. What do you say you come in and Let us. Oh goodness.
My fiance made a TikTok of me playing that damn VR game because I was so into it, dude. I'm like flying around looking for stuff.
Dude, it's perfect. Yes.
Oh, you know what I want to try? I want to try in squadrons if we can like fly up next to each other and just turn like,
dude,
hey,
I'm in.
You have to do the Top Gun. You got to get one X-wing over the top of the other one and then flip them off.
We were inverted. I honestly, dude, I'm excited for the future of gaming. I mean, if this is the last chip, right? If this is processing based on the last chip, I can't wait for the new VR stuff, dude. It's gonna look so fucking good.
Yeah, we're in a whole new zone when it comes to the evolution of gaming. And if there was one other genre of games that I wanted to touch on tonight, especially since we're talking about VR, because if there was ever a genre of games that was designed for VR, it was first-person shooters. And when you have a game like Wolfenstein, right? Games like this.
There was a Star Wars version of this, you know.
Yes, there was. It was Dark Forces.
Yes.
Yep. So you get a game like Wolfenstein, right? And then probably, I hope if I hit the right button here, probably the game that, I don't know, changed my life when it came to even just PC gaming in general, was Doom, which is basically a Wolfenstein clone, right?
Yeah.
And now we have Doom VR, where you are a Doom guy.
I don't know if I could play that in VR.
Oh, it's
the OG Doom in VR.
No, it's the new one, the new
Doom Eternal or whatever it is.
There's Doom Eternal and the one that came out right before that. It's all in VR.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And you get these demons that, they're all over the place, but you are Doom guy and you're looking all over the place and hearing them behind you, and you got to turn around and first person games. That was what VR initially started with. Like, it was like, that's what we have to put in VR is get you into the game. I see he's like, nah, I don't know.
What I want, honestly, I don't know if you guys remember Spooky Saturdays. I want Outlast in VR.
I think I would crap my pants.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Well, I still can't, and I got to say, my audience has outvoted me. I still to this day have not been able to complete Resident Evil 7 in VR, but I was outvoted, so I'll be doing it.
Good boy, good boy.
Yeah,
give them what they want, baby. Do it for the clicks.
Terrified. Yeah, no.
No.
It's, I mean, like I said, it's scary. I mean, you could scare the crap out of somebody. It's so funny. I watched a TikTok. He was talking about TikTok. I watched a TikTok video where somebody fell asleep with their VR helmet on.
Oh my God.
And somebody loaded up the scene from The Ring.
And
so they woke him up.
Dick.
They woke him up and they're like, oh my God. And he wakes up and he sees her crawling out of the screen, and you just see him like backing up, like, that's what he woke up. No, thank you.
See, that's a problem for me. That's a problem for me. This is how they get you. This is how the government gets you, bro. Right? Everybody's wants these like Google Eyes where you can put a contact on and then you can search stuff on the internet, and then they just overwrite it and put you in hell forever.
Elon can keep his implant. I'm cool downloading stuff the old way with my eyes and ears.
Yeah, you got to be able to take it off.
You got to be able to take it off. That's it. It goes to Inception when he like spins his top. Like, am I in reality or not?
Wasn't it? Speaking of gaming, wasn't it Gamer? Wasn't that the premise of Gamer?
Where Butler, yes,
where they basically had nanites that took over your brain function, and somebody could be like, and you're dancing around like Pinocchio. I mean. That's it. You got to be able to take it off, right? And you got to be able to completely disconnect from it. Elon, they can do it, man. Have a good time. No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm chilling.
Think about games now, especially with VR immersion. The idea of disconnecting is a hell of a lot harder than it was back in the world of 2D. I mean, it was hit the power button, you're done. Now we're literally taking stuff off of our face to leave the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at us now.
Yeah.
Look at us right now doing the same shit.
Yeah. Same idea.
And it's a trip because, you know, we're at a time where, I mean, think about Westworld, right? Yeah. That's like, think about games that you can create. I mean, the new Dune just came out, that new game that's coming. Think about something like that in VR, right? I mean, you're completely immersed. You're in there for 140 hours just grinding the game. You know, that's the future of gaming. And it's exciting, but it's also terrifying. It's outright terrifying that you can get that much into it that you forget time, and time goes away when you have the headset on. You forget.
Oh yeah, no, you're in the universe, man. Did you see the video of the kid who like stayed in Grand Theft Auto for like whatever it was, like 12 days or something?
The Mr. Beast protege?
I have no idea. I don't know. But yeah, he like stayed in Grand Theft Auto for. I was like, dude, that's too much. That's too much.
At one point, they hooked the VR goggles and everything up to a camera that they mounted to him so he could live his life in third person, like Grand Theft Auto. So he was viewing himself from behind, and if he turned, dude, Google that.
I gotta look this up.
Yeah, Google that. That's a mind bender.
That's Black Mirror territory.
This is Mr. Beast's protege. This is the kid that's been working with Mr. Beast the last 6 months, and he's the kid that did like turned a penny and lived on a penny for a month and turned it into $1 and then turned it into this. And he's doing all of these social experiments, and Mr. Beast is basically taking him under his wing. But that's some of the experiments that they're doing is they put him in with a VR headset. They mounted a rig so there was a camera like it would be in Grand Theft Auto, and anywhere he went, that's the view he had. On the bus, shopping, changing clothes, trying on clothes.
I just feel like the kid who came out of like 11 days in Grand Theft Auto, like he'd take his headset off and like walk outside and just like punch a grandma, try to steal his car, like bah, 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 bah. Like how many stars can I get, sucker?
Wondering why money didn't just pour out.
Right. It makes no sense.
I mean, I had the times where I would lose track of time in the arcade, and it's like, oh, the sun went down. Whoops. But no, that's a whole nother level.
I mean, that's the casino, dude. That's the casino life, bro. No clocks, no windows.
Like, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's the casino life. Yeah.
They want to keep you in, and that's the same way with this stuff. I mean, the only thing they haven't added to the games yet is ads, right?
Yeah.
Put an ad halfway through a mission, that's gonna piss me off.
Did you see what happened with? I just started playing Saints Row. Did you see what they put in Saints Row? So I was playing a mission and I was about to die. So I'm like, damn, I got to start it over. So I clicked abort mission. Do you know what it said at the abort mission screen? I have to pull it back up. I took a picture of it. It was absolutely insane. I was like, wow, okay, we're doing that, man. Here, okay. You just requested to abort the mission.
Oh, you're muted.
Ah, did it again, huh?
Silence me, man. You're trying to silence me, man. I'm gonna get my message out.
What did it say?
You just requested to abort the mission, but what if this option was negated? What if we, the developers, decided you cannot do what you want to do with your own character? This is what many women in America are experiencing.
Wow.
Fucking no joke, dude.
No filter.
I'm like,
no filter. That's hilarious.
Like the 13-year-old kid playing Saints Row. I was like, Mom.
Wow. That's hilarious. That's
the first time I remember a game messing with me like that was towards the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 on the PS2. There's a point in the game where they just start talking to you as the player, like
fourth wall break status.
Yeah, they're like, maybe you should take a break and put the controller down and whatever. It's like you're gonna fail, and I was like, what is going on? And that the first time that happened to me, I was like playing the hell out of that game. So it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. By the time
you're all loopy.
I'm all like, I don't even know if I'm awake. Is it
Yeah.
real?
Is Trinity trying to get a hold of me right now? What the
Yeah.
heck? Follow the
Follow
white
the white
rabbit?
Mr. Anderson.
Yeah,
I still have a memory of being like, I don't remember what it was. I was in like 4th grade or something like that, and I'm playing Super Smash Bros. And you get that level of tired where you're not playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
Like your eyes see the game happening, but your brain's kind of shut down and your hands are just on autopilot. And you're like,
your head's all tilted.
maybe I should go to sleep.
Well, it's funny because we were talking earlier, and everybody's got a game that makes them want to throw things, right? Everybody's got one. I've got at least one. Flashback is my game. That game gave me nightmares because
Flashback is
it had no ending.
You know what? I put myself through the torture again because they re-released it and updated it and put it on the Switch. And I was like,
I'll give anybody, I'm telling you right now on your channel, I will give anybody $100 if you show me the ending to that game. Get to the last.
You know what happened last time you
I don't
put a bet up for $100, right? You remember that, right?
Who pays their debts? That's all I gotta say. Everybody else, man the fuck up. All I'm saying is I have never seen the end of that game. Ever. Now I've looked for it on YouTube. I've looked for it on game places.
What's it called?
It's called Flashback. Basically, the premise of the game is simple. You have amnesia and you are in this, it's a multi-planet police state, let's call it. I don't know. It's the only way I can describe it. And you're on the run and you have to figure out who you are. You have to figure out what the whole thing is going on. And basically there's an alien plot to blow shit up. That's it. And
that's my life story. It's just my life story. And again,
okay. And that's it.
And then woke up hungover, like, where am I? Who am I?
Basically, right? And you're on a scooter or you're on a speeder getting away and they shoot you, and it's a whole thing. You have to figure out who you are. You get clues from people. You're not sure who to trust, but then you get to the end, and I did it like 5 or 6 different times. There is no end.
I don't believe you.
You just
I don't believe you.
Green, and the whole thing blows up. I don't know. That game gave me nightmares. That game gave me nightmares.
You know, let's, in the words of the guys we watch on StreamYard's channel, let's throw it to the wolves. what do you guys think? Is this a challenge? Should the Matt Cave take on Flashback?
Take it, please. If you do I'll give you $100. I don't care if it will put the might that has lived in my head for 50 years.
You're not getting rid of that might obsession,
bro.
That has nothing to do with Flashback, bro.
That one little place in the back of my brain that I can't scratch that itch. That's that pain from that game.
This comment breaks my heart. I miss you guys so much.
I definitely want to get more of these going. More.
I didn't know I was on Spotify.
I'm not on Spotify.
I didn't know we were on Spotify.
I'm actually flattered by this, that anybody would want to listen to me speak at all.
Is it like hard to get on Spotify or something?
I don't know.
I don't either. We used to do MRX. We used to do talks like this all the time on my channel, and then it was a selfish prick, and we ended it. And I want to bring it back because I fucking miss you guys.
Well,
I'm definitely gonna have more like
you've been busy lifting stuff and handling real life. Like there's real stuff going on.
I'm lifting boxes and stuff. You know, I mean, nobody got time for you though when you lift the boxes. You know,
there's stuff going on, and
look at all these boxes.
I can't go on YouTube. I got
look at these boxes.
And so here, since he's here, I will. I'm gonna bring as soon as I can get it.
So many boxes.
There's so much stuff.
Where did they come from, and where did they go?
So here, I'm gonna.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. What do you got?
I'm gonna share a screen. This is the lot that I'm bidding on right now. All right, there it is. This is the lot that I'm bidding on right now.
Oh, did I tell you? You freaking screwed me, because the second you showed me that one line, I bought like 14 figs.
Yeah. Same line, right? But this is all auction. And I'm trying to scoop all of these up.
They're all different releases. What do they want for the group?
Oh, no, it's all independent. So each one will go for whatever it goes for.
Oh, okay.
But there's a bunch that I'd never seen before.
Like what?
I had never seen this one.
Oh, dude, that's Odie Mandrell.
Yeah, the pod racer guy.
Yeah.
I'd never seen this with the comm chip before. That's the first time I'd seen that one.
Is Gascano in there? Because Gascano was probably my favorite.
Let's see.
I have a Qui-Gon.
Amidala, Qui-Gon Jinn, Padme.
I think I have all of those except for Odie.
Right here.
Yeah, I love Gascano. I had to get the Gascano. I don't have Odie though. I need Odie.
That's what I'm saying. I figured we hadn't talked about this stuff in a while, so I was like, ooh, but yeah, there's
and Mace has the blue saber.
And my least favorite.
Oh my god, I don't have Kiadi either.
My least favorite Jedi. I mean, there's some damage, there's a little bit of
well, it's gonna be on a wall anyways. You won't see
you're never gonna see the fronts, but I mean, yeah, and then you have Mace with the blue lightsaber.
I need that Kiadi Mundi too.
So yeah, I'm looking at picking these up. These are all local auction and stuff. So I'm trying to pick that stuff up this week, hopefully.
I miss you guys.
Gotta pick.
This is something that I'm gonna start to kind of change the platform a bit of Way Back Wednesday, where I bring in more like discussion type things here and there. But the other thing I'm shifting over to, and I already got the stuff I want to prep for it so that I can actually do this on the go. I'm gonna take you guys retro gaming hunting, and I'll be on the road for Way Back Wednesdays or any other streams really. Heading out to local, mom and pop shops and everything, and tracking down some games. I'm looking to get suggestions from people saying like, hey, do you have this? Been looking for this for a while. Where do I find something like this?
What the fuck did he just say in the comment section right now?
Oh, what happened? Oh,
what did you just say in the comment?
This
what the fuck did you just say in the fucking comments? Come to my house. Come to my house. You play me in N64 pod racing.
Oh, N64 pod racing.
End you. You can be Sebulba. I'll be Odie Mandrell.
Odie Mandrell, though, he did have the 3 pit droids based off of the 3 Stooges, and they were fantastic.
Right. I mean, look,
what kind of a community are you creating over here, Matt Cave?
I like to make you twitch a little bit whenever you're here.
Yeah.
I still remember Odie's best line of the prequel trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
Mutika, mutika, mutika.
Yeah.
Who doesn't remember that?
Are you guys okay?
We're just losing it.
You guys communicating like my cats?
All right, here. Let's do this with you guys, the 3 of us, and everybody in the chat. Which version of the pod racing game was your favorite,
including arcades?
Sure,
the arcade for me.
Come on, man. Yeah. I mean,
it's the most immersive.
Yeah,
it's definitely the most immersive. The one I actually go with is the Dreamcast version because at the time I didn't have a gaming PC, and it was the closest I could get to the PC version of that game.
Well, and that's the thing, is that I love that we're in a time now where everything's cross-platform, right? So it doesn't matter what you're using, you can get a version of the game somewhere, and they're pretty close, right? And that's a great time to be alive, because it wasn't always like that.
I never played the second one. There was another one. It was
I have that. That was on the PS2 and the GameCube. Actually, they ported it to the PlayStation not that long ago. It's actually great. You play as like Attack of the Clones era Anakin.
Yeah. You continue his pod racing career.
Yeah, he comes back because Sebulba's basically like, it's called Pod Racer Revenge.
Yeah.
And Sebulba wants revenge.
Never played it.
That's awesome.
I got to get on that.
It's good.
Yeah, I didn't play that one, but I enjoyed the arcade version the best.
The sit down arcade version, especially that one where you have the stick and you're pushing it forward to go and you're going like this, that is hands down the best and most immersive version of that game. And I can't believe, I would imagine maybe it's because of the size and maybe it's really expensive to get it, but it was so rare to find that anywhere.
Yeah, it was
especially now.
Only like the biggest arcades had them. And I found one like last year, I think. Oh no, it wasn't even. It was last year. It was when I went to meet up with 2 Star Wars nerds up in Portland, Oregon. They had one there, but the freaking left side was broken. So the right side was super touchy, and the left one you'd have to like crank that just to get it to move. It was horrible.
Your left hand is like, man, why is my left arm sore today? I only played.
This was straight. This was flying straight the whole time. So like,
I love it.
Yeah, that's that, and that was probably one of the major issues with that game. Is mechanical failure was probably a regular thing.
Dude, you got 10-year-old kids like,
yeah. I want to be a little Annie.
Jamming on that thing.
Yeah. I mean, I never did anything like
that.
No,
I would never hit it that hard, right? You always were so super gentle.
Yeah,
super gentle,
baby hands. I got a dip, guys. I love you. I miss you both.
See you later.
Good to see you, man.
Funny.
Yeah. Here we go. NASCAR pod racing, left turns only.
That's it. It was all lefties.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, there has been a lot of. That's the great thing about being our age is that there's been a lot of evolution in gaming. So to span this entire wave that has been the gaming culture, is really been interesting to see, just to witness as a person living it in the moment.
That's like as much as I love all the new stuff that's out there, and I'm jealous of like what my son gets to experience for the first time in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
I feel like we grew up in this amazing generation where we, like you said, we experienced these evolutions in real time. We witnessed it happen. I wouldn't trade that for the world. We're not going to see that type of an evolution again.
Oh no.
I mean, eventually we're going to get to the whole Ready Player One type stuff and everything, but that's different. That's a different evolution because we're practically there already.
Well, it's going to be like that scene in Back to the Future, right? Where he walks into the corner
with little Elijah Wood playing Wild Gunman.
Right. And he's like, "Oh, you have to use your hands? That's a baby's game."
Yeah.
Right.
And what?
That's basically where we're at is like, "Oh, you have to use your hands? That's lame." And that's where it's going to get someday. Someday our kids are your kids, not mine, but someday their kids are going to be saying, "Oh, wow, you had to use your hands? That's so weird."
Yeah.
Right. And
we thought we were going to get there with the Power Glove, but man, we were wrong at that time.
Well, I mean, that's just the thing is that no other generation is going to get to watch computer games evolve from nothing, to watch games evolve from nothing. I mean, if you really want to go back into Way Back Wednesday, and this is something that I highly recommend you do, go back and talk about the Woz. Go back and talk about Jobs and why Steve Wozniak wanted to make computers, because he wanted to play games. He wanted to play video games. He wanted to make video games. And that's where all of this started. All of this stuff started with those guys building computers. Yeah, there may have been cabinets at that point. There may have been video games, but there was no home computing. And that's what led to PlayStations and Xboxes and Nintendos and Segas, is that these guys built computers that did games. And then eventually gaming companies were like, "Oh shit, we need to do that home gaming stuff." And that's when the computer came home, video games came with it.
Yeah.
And that's what started this roller coaster.
Playing things like Tetris on like word processors. Like it was just,
dude, playing things like Number Munchers.
Yeah.
Right. For those kids that don't know, that was a game that they used to teach math with.
It
was a little
computer class.
In computer class, it was a little frog that ate numbers and taught you math. I mean, there's all of these. I mean, Bert and Ernie's Bubble Bath, whatever that thing was, and all these space quests and all of these were things on DOS. DOS is a program that you used to have to type in what drive you wanted to access and what the file name that you were going to execute was. You used to have to type that in and push enter to load the games, just so you guys know what DOS is.
Yeah. And at that time, 1 megabyte was gigantic.
Oh,
that was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And that's the thing is I mean, unless we have a solar flare, that literally fries every microchip on the planet, and anything operated by power and electricity is gone. You're never, even still, we still have the designs to remake this stuff and the ability and the know-how. These things were not accessible to us in the late 70s, early 80s, right?
Mhm.
These things were new. So to live in a time where computer games didn't exist to a time when they did, just amazing. Just an amazing leap. And no other generation is going to get to experience that the way we did.
Yeah, that evolution was unlike anything else.
Historical, dude. Generational. And that's where we all started. So I think that's the most important thing to remember, is that if you're young and you're watching and you love your games now, appreciate what you have now, because there were times when you had to go places to play games. And then there were times before that where there were only pinball games.
Yep.
Right? I mean, we got to live through an interesting evolutionary time that no other generation will get to experience. And I'm thankful that I have all of these consoles still that are functioning, that I can plug in and play if I want to.
The fact that I get to, and this was the dream, and I have it now as an adult, and little kid me inside of me loses his little mind every time I look over here at this setup where I have what was considered a gigantic TV back then. I got a 27-inch tube TV right here.
Right.
I got my NES. I got a Super Nintendo. I got an N64, a Sega Genesis, the Atari 2600. It's all hooked up right here.
Yeah.
That was the dream. And I'm so lucky and fortunate to be able to do this and be able to have this all hooked up like this. And then now get to actually share these games with not only my son and my family, but
I challenge you. I challenge you to beat Flashback live. I challenge you to do it
live. Oh, let's.
I challenge just the finale. You can do the rest of the game on your own, maybe in the Discord, so I can watch. But I'd really like to see you do the finale live. Like, I'm just saying.
I have it originally on the Sega CD, but I recently got it on the Switch, but haven't really messed with it. But this could be
I can't believe they re-released that on the Switch. There's no way.
Dude, they updated it so you can flip back and forth from in an instant original version versus their like revamp.
I can't believe that. That's insane. I'm gonna have to look at it because that game gave me nightmares. And like I said, I will find you the original disc. Like I have no doubt that they have fixed and ported the ending so it works properly. I will find you an original disc. That's how painful it is.
I don't think I ever beat that game, but I know I got pretty far in it.
I got all the way to the end, and you get to a room and there's nothing you can do. Either I missed a thing 5 times in a row, or that game was flawed, and you get to the end and you just blow. I guess the lesson in that game is sometimes you do everything right and everything still blows up in your face.
Yeah.
You're welcome, kids.
That's what gaming was. Yeah, good luck. You know what? This game's broke. The game's broken, but release it anyway. There's no way anyone's getting there.
Come on. I mean, there's so many games that made it that were like, just throw it out there. No one's gonna play it anyway.
Yeah, worst case, we'll bury it in a landfill right next to ET.
I want to watch you play because like I said, I will find the original Sega disc cartridge for you to play it in your Genesis, because I think that's the only way to do it right. I will find it. I will eBay. I will Mercari. I will hunt every thrift store and video game store in the tri-state.
Was there a Genesis port? Was it on
Genesis? Genesis game.
Because I had it on Sega CD.
Well, I mean, it's a Sega game.
But
it was on Genesis.
It just had the animated cutscenes. That was
had the animated it had more of the animated cutscenes on the CD, but the original came on a Sega Black cartridge. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna find it. That's my mission. Me and my girlfriend, she is a pit bull for information. We're gonna find that thing tonight. I bet you I find it on eBay or something for $5.99 or some shit. Watch. Because I'm telling you, you got to beat that. You got to beat that game on. I got to see. I'm going to go on
we
my
have,
Switch when we go down.
We have a topic for an upcoming Way Back Wednesday.
I'm in, dude. I'm in.
Dude, I'll do it right here on StreamYard.
Play it. It's 8-bit, 16-bit. Yeah. It's not like you're going to overload the system. But yeah, dude, I'm down. I will gladly watch, dude. That is one game that is I've never seen anybody beat ever. I've been looking for 15 years more. I played that game when I was 10 to 14 years old. So it's been 25 years that this has tortured me.
I now know what I need to do.
This is cool. Well, let's start. I want to go search. So let's wrap this baby up.
We're gonna wrap it up, guys.
Let's roll it.
We talked about a lot tonight. This definitely went on longer than I was expecting, but it had a blast. This was
special guests, all kinds.
We had a special pop-in guests. We covered multiple gaming genres that have evolved over time, and now we are on. We made it all the way to the next mission.
Yes,
for the Mac Cave.
I'm in. I love it. I love it. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah, I think that it has to be done. All right. Well, on that note, I appreciate you being here.
Oh man, I'm so glad you're back, dude. It gets lonely in the Discord and on these streams without you. So I'm glad you're back.
I'm happy to be back. We're back to regularly scheduled programming. I'll be bouncing around too on your channel and everybody else's channel. We're all over the place. But guys, everybody in chat, thank you so much for being here for the return of Way Back Wednesday. And until next time, remember, keep retro gaming alive, because one day your games will be retro too. I'll see you guys on the next one.